everyone, I'm Kerri Sykes. I'm a recipe creator, content creator and food photographer. I'll be making my vegan spaghetti bolognese. I'll be using lentils for this dish as a substitute for the beef, and of course lots of fresh herbs. We've got some spinach and we've got lots of peppers to give it a nice little sweetness as well, and we've got, of course, no recipe is complete without our mushrooms. So today I'll be cooking in the Wren kitchen using the CreoGlass beautiful splashback here, as you can see, very vibrant and very fresh with the fresh coconuts. Well, first I'm going to start by filling up a jar with some lentils. You want a generous amount because this is going to be our base for the spaghetti bolognese. So I'm going to fill this to a little under 1 pint. I'm going to pour it into our pot that we're going to boil it in. And of course I'm going to add a generous amount of water, hot water. You just want to make sure the water is covering the lentils because we want a lot of liquid to make it nice and juicy for the bolognese sauce. Go to about there. And then we're going to put it on the AEG hob. And we're going to let that boil for about 20 minutes, and we're just going to keep stirring it as we go along. And in the meantime, we're going to start preparing the ingredients to put in the lentils. So I'm going to start off with some mushrooms. If you just use a generous handful of mushrooms, probably about 6 to 7, that'll be perfect for this dish. You can cut them quite chunky as well. It doesn't have to be too fine. And then we're going to add about 2 red onions to this dish. We want it to have lots of flavour, so you don't have to cut it too fine. Now I'm just going to skin some carrots. I'm just going to peel them. So you want about 5 carrots for this one. I mean, sometimes I leave the skin on, so you can also just give them a wash and leave the skin on as well. I'm also going to add this beautiful courgette. It's so pretty. This one you can slice a bit more finely than the rest, and half will do. I'm going to check on the lentils as well, probably turn it down. We've also got some tomatoes here as well, organic tomatoes. Always try to buy organic if you can. If it's not from the garden, then try to make sure that it's organic. Obviously tomatoes are one of the staple of the dish, so you can be quite generous. We also have our tinned tomatoes as well that we're going to add to the dish, just to give it even more flavour. And now we're going to use our sweet peppers. So I'm going to add a variety of red and yellow. 2 peppers, and this is all going in the lentils, so it's going to be like a stew at first, and then we're just going to blend it all up to make the spaghetti bolognese sauce. We're going to add some garlic as well, quite a generous amount, probably about maybe 4 cloves we're going to add, because we don't want any bland spaghetti bolognese, we want it to be packed with flavour. We're also going to use some spring onions as well, about 2 twigs of spring onions. When it comes to flavour, you can never be too generous. And then we're going to add beautiful red cabbage to the dish as well. Then we're going to add it all to the dish. And we'll give it a good stir. Everything will steam down anyway, so don't worry. I'm just going to add about a teaspoon of black pepper and just a generous helping of chili flakes as well. Probably about 1/4 teaspoon. It all depends really. If you like spice, then go as ham as you want, but if you're not really a fan of spice, then don't put so much. We're just going to add some cream of coconut, so I'm going to put quite a generous amount just to make it nice and thick and creamy. So I'm going to put about that much. And this will just melt, so you don't really have to do much to it. Just stir it every now and then. So I'm also going to add some fresh basil as well. Can't beat some fresh herbs, so you can put quite a good amount. I always opt for fresh rather than the dried one from the shop. So if you can get fresh herbs, then that's even better. That's what you want, a hearty looking dish. This looks very hearty, very warming, and very comforting. So now we're going to make the bolognese sauce. So we're going to use a can of plum tomatoes. We're going to use 2 mushrooms. A lot of the ingredients from the lentils, we're just going to carry it over. 2 onions, red onions as well. I have a Scotch bonnet pepper for extra spice, so this is optional. If you don't like spice, then don't include that. Or if you like more spice, then bump it up and include more. We've got some baby tomatoes here as well, just a generous handful of tomatoes, even though we're using a tin, but we want this to have a really nice tomato flavour as well. And I'm going to add some asparagus to the dish as well. If you don't really want it too spicy, you can remove the seeds. I'm going to keep some of the seeds in there. I like to cut the Scotch bonnet quite fine. And then some tomatoes. About 4 nice sized tomatoes. The lentils are nearly ready. Probably about 5 more minutes and then you can take them off. And we're going to blend them, so we do want to retain a lot of liquid. Red pepper. So I'm going to take the lentils off the fire now and leave them to sit while I make the pasta. When they're cooked, they should be very, very soft. You want to retain all the liquid. So another thing that my recipe uses is for the sauce are a generous amount of hazelnuts. Just a good handful will do. You can just roughly chop them. This adds a nice, rich, nutty flavour to the dish. I'm using walnut oil for the sauce, so you just want to put quite a generous amount as you heat up your pan. Make sure it's nicely greased and just let that heat up for a few minutes. And I'm going to add some garlic first. I'm going to add some garlic now. Add the sauce. You can just break them up slightly. Chop some spring onions. Some fresh herbs, basil. Give it a stir. Add some thyme. Again, no measurement, just be generous. Tiny bit of black pepper. I'm going to add our hazelnuts as well. That's quite nice in the pot. I'm going to add the rest now. So we've got onions, sweet peppers, mushrooms, cabbage, the whole works. Even more tomatoes. Just going to put the spaghetti on now. Fill up a pan with boiling hot water. Break it in half as evenly as you can. Place it into the water. We're just going to gradually add the lentils to the blender and blend them on a high speed. Add some of the liquid. So you want the consistency to be quite thick, like that. And we're going to add the sauce now. This is what's going to give it that tomato flavour. So here's the finished dish. We're just going to garnish it with some basil, and that's it. That's your bolognese sauce. I'm going to strain the pasta now. And just for the last step, I'm just going to add a bit of walnut oil to the pan, just a tiny bit, because we're about to serve now. So we're going to add spaghetti. Of course, no pasta is complete without the cheese. So we're going to add a generous amount of vegan mozzarella. And some herbs. We're just going to plate it now, the final dish.